little cold down here today, but you guys got me all bundled up. Tom Trung, dear friend of mine, just appreciate he and Marissa and all that they do for so many of us. That's not lip service, but it's truly meant. He's been so supportive, well beyond anything that I've been able to do for him. But he's creating for us multiple opportunities. And one such opportunity that he's creating is something that a lot of us may not be very familiar with. And that is in how that the blockchain community through, coinage online and how funds are being transferred as it relates to real estate. So Tom, I am the least person probably to set this table in order for you to talk about blockchain, but I want to yield the floor to you. Share with everybody how you came to discover and got invested into blockchain and what you've learned from it and how it's shaping real estate for individual agents like ourselves.
All right, guys. Thank you, Eric, for the honor of being on the call. I hope that all of you saw the event flyer today, that this is the topic that Eric wanted me to talk about, right? Is tokenization of real world assets as it relates to how we as commercial real estate practitioners should get involved at the forefront while this industry is evolving, shaping up. And I believe, well, it's not even I believe, our chairman, our Securities and Exchange chairman, Paul Atkins, in the new administration is saying it is a freight train that cannot be stopped. It is an industry that has already been up and running. In 2025, over 500 billion real world assets have been tokenized. This is not speculative. It is the real deal. If you want the facts behind that, ChatGPT, Google, Perplexity, Claude, check it all out. You guys can fact check what I'm saying. All right, but it's a $500 billion industry that has already come and gone in 2025. And in the next 4 years, there's going to be 3,200% growth to 16 trillion by the most conservative numbers, and some aggressive numbers show it at $100 trillion. At 16 trillion it's the equivalent of, I believe, a fifth of our national debt. At 100 trillion, it's a larger number than our entire national debt. The question is, Michael Wiseman, Jeff Smith, Barbara, Dan, Rich, Christina, and Ayo, it's 16 trillion to $100 trillion worth of business that can be yours. Okay. Now, how do you take advantage of it? Well, first you got to get educated. Okay. If you want the education, text Eric Clark. If he's too busy running around, which I know he is, then text me directly. You all have my cell phone number. If you don't, just find it. I'm easily findable. Okay. And I'll share with you the data. Here's the bottom line. I've gotten involved 9 months from now. Excuse me. I've got 9 months. I've got involved over 9 months. And rather than me getting on my soapbox, I can tell you cash on cash return as of this morning is 69%. Yeah, Rich. Now it's not the end. It's not.
It's insane.
Cash on cash. I will use my bank account, not on this call, but we can jump on a private call, show you. I reallocated, let's call it $500,000 of my real estate holdings, and I moved it over to blockchain. It is the best decision I've made this past decade for sure. Okay. I moved a massive amount of my portfolio from traditional real estate holdings over to blockchain, specifically to get involved as the node operator opportunity. What does that mean? A node operator is a software program that is upholding a decentralized financial system, aka blockchain. We are building our own bank, basically, banking system. To do what? With the Trusted Smart Chain, to help real world assets, real businesses, ongoing entities that are viable, that are profitable, that have a history of paying out distributions on a timely basis as they were disclosed on their original initial public offering or offerings, okay? And to help them raise expansion capital, okay? That's what a node operator does. We are building the infrastructure. We are upholding, actually, the infrastructure is already built. Now you can come on. Think of it like this, guys, in layman's terms. Imagine that once upon a time, we were all using the rotary dial phone. Who was old enough to use the rotary dial phone? Okay, well, John wasn't old enough. His hand's not raised, but I get that. You're young, John. All right. All right. And then we all got, hey, Dan, Rich, Christina, Barbara, there's this new technology. It's called cellular technology. And we're going to, and it makes it available. It makes it available for us to cut that cord and go cellular. Now, in order to do that, we've got to build the infrastructure. We need cell phone towers, okay? And we're selling each phone tower today for $4,000. And we're only going to need 250,000 cell phone towers across the world. And once we have, let's say, about 25,000 cell phone towers, and all of us have our towers and the signals up and running, we have the infrastructure, we have the blockchain. And now people can make cellular phones remotely. And every time the vendor, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Cricket, you name them, now Amazon, now Netflix, now Disney, now everybody, access our cell phone tower, Christina, they have to pay a fee. And in order for them to pay that fee, they have to use our currency on our cell phone tower. When I relate it back to this blockchain, they have to buy a token. That's the form of the currency. They can't use US dollars. They can't use Japanese yen. They can't use the Mexican peso. They can't use the Iceland kronos, where I just came from, where I had to convert my dollar to the kronos in order to, pay for the hotels and blah, 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 right? So now how they to our currency is from you upholding your node or your cell phone tower. How many cell phone towers would you like? My cell phone towers, I started with 20 of them, 20 nodes 9 months ago. I'm up to 260 cell phone towers because I keep acquiring more and more and more as I have more cash flow, blah, 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 as I liquidate more of my assets that were performing, by the way, between 17% to 22%, not between exactly. One of my assets was performing 17% cash on cash. The other asset was performing at 22% cash on cash. But I knew, I speculated, I anticipated, based on everything that I learned, that it's going to get more than that. And now one has performed 3 times better and one 2 times better. And it's only been 9 months. It was just getting started. So I hope I didn't lose you guys by sharing with you how important it is you at least invest an hour of your time, whether you jump on a Zoom call like this with one of my co-founders, or you just invest an hour with me privately, and I will show you how you can reallocate, readjust your portfolio to literally change the future of your legacy. XP already created a legacy for me with revenue share. It already set me free with revenue share. And I'm telling you, this trusted smart chain is 50x in terms of what EXP has been able to do for my family and my legacy. 50x. It's been exponentially faster, more profitable than anything I've ever seen in my working career. Eric, I had a whole presentation to share, but I'm not gonna, out of respect for everybody. I think I took 10 minutes to sort with you the vision, okay? We are only selling this blockchain, by the way. The founders, I did a call with this Huang, and I failed to tell Jim Huang's audience that the partners that I've linked arms with, that I believe in, had been sued by the past administration. I neglected to educate everyone on that call. And what did they do? They looked up Trusted Smart Chain, and they found the lawsuit, but they didn't get the rest of the information. And so I sort of killed it for Jim. And that was my fault. I'll take responsibility for it. I'm not killing it for Eric Clark. Okay. Because I've learned from my lesson. These guys have been battle tested. They have been sued by the last administration because the last administration wanted to slow down cryptocurrency and blockchain until they wrapped their arms around it. These guys fought back, won, because they weren't defrauding anybody, they weren't scamming anybody, they weren't selling any securities, they were selling simply building a decentralized blockchain that then didn't even understand. This is a prior project, by the way. They beat them. They got the entire legal operation team fired from the SEC. They got that office shut down, and they're back at the table building something bigger, better, faster that the current administration named us the blockchain of the year in DC back in October. There was over 1,000 blockchains. We are the premier blockchain, and we've already sold 40,000 of these nodes, computer software. When we sell 200,000, it's game over. One day, folks, you guys will have the opportunity to say, yeah, I heard Tom. I believed in him. I took the extra hour to learn from him. Or you say, damn it, I was busy doing something else that day or that week, and I didn't pay attention, and I missed that train one more time. This is a freight train that is not stoppable. Why? Companies, if you can fact check everything I say, get the amount of companies that are going public now in the last, let's say, 5 years versus companies that were going public 20 years ago or even 15 years ago. The number is down dramatically. Why? Naked shorting, dark pools, the market manipulation is out of this world crazy. Over 80% of companies who go public get their stock manipulated by the big boys, and they don't even know it. Okay. EXP stock is down at an all very down. I mean, I saw the EXP stock yesterday and it made me sick to my stomach. Okay. Now I know EXP is performing like crazy. We're doing very well, but there's market manipulation. Thank goodness when I saw blockchain 9 months ago, I sold all of my EXP stock at $12. It's now down less than $6 because I understood market manipulation. And no matter how brilliant Leo Prayer is and Glenn Sanford is, they can't control market manipulation. And 80% of the companies on the Wall Street is being manipulated. Okay. Venture capitalists, they have the right to earn the commissions that they earn because of their black book that they developed over time with accredited investors. Kudos to them. And they're charging massive rates for anybody to raise capital. Okay. We work with real estate developers all the time. They go out, they get a loan, they get mezzanine financing, they get all this financing. And if you figure it out between the broker's fees, the financing fees, the introductory fees, call it whatever the marketing fees, we spin it all different ways. It's if you help them raise $100 million, they'll be lucky to end up with $80 million of working capital. 20 million will go out to fees. With blockchain technology, we can do it at a third of the cost. And that's why tokenization of real assets is a freight train that cannot be stopped. The banks want to stop it, but they cannot because our blockchain is decentralized. BlackRock is building their own blockchain that is centralized. They still control it. They can still manipulate their token. On our blockchain, there's no market manipulation. That's it. 20 minutes. Less than that.
We're not done. No, we're not done. Tom, talk about how somebody on the call may know of a company who could benefit from bringing their real world asset to the blockchain. Talk about we are agents and we're out there. There's multiple ways to connect.
Okay, great question. So we are not the only blockchain right now. There are over 1,000 blockchains out there. Some of them are bullshit, scam artists, blah, blah, blah. There's no utility, meaning no demand. It's all hype, right? All on hype, okay? But of the 1,000 blockchains, there are only about 130 layer one blockchains. I have to answer your question, Eric, I've got to sort of up the education, okay? There's about of the 1,000, 130 of them are layer one blockchains. What is a layer one blockchain? Trustless blockchain is one of those. Ethereum is another one. Bitcoin is another one. Solana is another one. They have built their own blockchain and it's up and running somewhat. Okay. Of those, the other 870 blockchains or so are sitting on top of the other 130. Ethereum has tons of blockchains sitting on top of that. Got it? XRP, same thing. All right. So of the 130, there are 30 fully active, currently running. They're not raising capital to build their blockchain, but it's up and running. Okay. We're one of those 30 layer one fully active, built and running blockchain. The node values that we sell for the software is not to help build the blockchain. Many of them are still raising capital to build it. Okay. Of those 30, only 10 deal with real world assets, tangible businesses that have real world assets. Okay. And of those 10, Eric, only one, the Trusted Smart Chain, require the Securities and Exchange Commission's Regulation A filing. Now, most of you on this call, hopefully, you guys know what Reg A filing is? Who knows? Open up your mic and share, please. Regulation A. There's a Regulation D. If you've helped companies raise capital, most likely they might have gotten a Reg D. A Reg D is you file paperwork, you say you're going to go out to the market and you're going to raise $50 million, and you can only raise it from accredited investors, Regulation D. Accredited investors are big boys, big girls. They have a net worth of at least $1 million. They have a savings, I believe, of at least $250,000 in the bank account. If they invest in your project, they sign off saying, I'm an accredited investor. And if Dan Clapp takes all my money, loses my money, I can't sue him. I'm a big boy. I can do my own due diligence. Most capital raises at that level are Reg D offerings. Reg A is both accredited and unaccredited investors. And we require Reg A because the Securities and Exchange Commission has to come in and financially undress your projects, Eric. They go back at least 2 years to look at the financial statements, the tax returns. They audit those financial statements. They run criminal background check, credit check. They do all of that. And if you come out clean, then you get the Reg A. So to answer your question, on our blockchain, you have to be able to get the Reg A filing for us to start helping you raise capital. And our blockchain, we serve the suite that we serve. Our niche is companies about $100 million or so. You got to have it's got to be valued at least $100 million. It have to be a minimum of 50 million for us to work with you per year, 50 million capital raise per year, up to a maximum of 75 million, because that's the maximum the Regulation A allows per year. Now, that's how you work with us, okay? We're going to need 2 years of tax returns. We're going to need to understand your bank statements. You're going to need to financially undress yourself in front of us and in front of the SEC. If you've been paying out, distributions and collecting money, you don't have track record of where all that money went, you're probably not going to pass. So then you can go to the other 9 blockchains that don't require the Reg A filing. And the other 9 Reg A's who do real world assets, who are layer 1 blockchains, can still help you raise capital. But their investors who's investing into the projects don't have an extra layer of security from this commission auditing their financial records. And they can probably raise capital lower, 5 million at a time, 10 million at a time, 20 million at a time, right? When I did my largest development here in Massachusetts, I did a Regulation D filing, right? I went out and I was able to capital from unaccredited as well as, from accredited investors, right? And my capital raise was just $6.4 million. And that Reg D helped me get that done, okay? So there are many blockchains out there right now that can help you do that. If you want to do ours, it's got to be like top of the class. And what I love about that, guys, is that we are bringing, A grade real world assets to our community to invest in. And hence why some of the yields that I shared with you is just off the charts. And it allows not just the rich to get richer, because they sure are on our blockchain, but it allows the Uber driver, the gal who's working in the restaurants, who's cleaning our streets, who's plowing our snow, who's landscaping, to also invest and get the same yield as the big boys because blockchain technology makes it so cost efficient to manage all those contracts, issue all those 10Ks, etc.
Tom, talk about on a global scale how transactions are taking place, just how it's growing. You talked about the numbers up front, but properties that are being sold, regions of the world, I know that in the Emirates, there's a lot of transactions that are being done in real estate through the blockchain. Speak about that. Then after that, I'd just like to open the floor for questions anybody may have, because I find this to be an absolute fascinating conversation. And I thank you for your time this morning.
100%. So let me share the screen here. This is a real world asset that we are helping to get through the Regulation A right now. It's called Tulum. It's Tulum in Mexico, right? Tulum, not Mexico, Tulum in Sheila. All right, right here. So this is a 5-star, 7-star luxury boutique hotel in Tulum. Right out there is, okay, I've stayed here with Marissa and my daughters, okay, and they have been operating this luxury hotel for over a decade, and they were able to tie up a piece of oceanfront property next door to them. Finally, it became available, okay, and they bought it cash. You can't finance, most of you know, you really can't finance land acquisition, never mind trying to finance land acquisition in Mexico, okay? So they bought it with cash, and now they need to raise $50 million to stand up another, sister hotel next door. So we are helping them go through their financials right now. We've already submitted their 300-page document, Securities and Exchange Regulation A documents, to the SEC. SEC has already come back with further questions, and assuming we get through all those questions, they'll get their Reg A certificate to start to raise, with our help, to raise $50 million, Eric, okay? When they do that, they're going to create their own Tulum token. That Tulum token will be what you call a layer 2 token sitting on top of the trusted smart chain layer 1 token. When Tulum completes its capital raise of $50 million, only then will they begin to be able to put that $50 million into play to start building it. And we believe we can help them raise that fairly quickly, probably within 90 to 180 days, we'll have that capital raise complete. Okay, because we have secret weapon, a secret sauce is our community, right? Our community can then go in and invest $100 at a time and still yield 10% return, or 1,000 or 1,000,000 or 10 million at a time and still yield the same distribution, 10%, let's say. When Tulum finishes that and they promise their investor world the coin, the distribution, the ROI, the dividend payments has to come in the form of the trusted chain coin, trusted smart chain coin from the node operators, the people who are standing up the toll booths. So that's a real project right there that I'm sharing with you. We have a company called Grow Estate. I'll stop sharing. Grow Estate is a Canadian company. They have a tremendous track record of profitability serving the medical grade marijuana industry. They are looking to expand the medical grade marijuana distribution plants and growing farms, and we're helping them go right now to raise $75 million. We have a company called Tranquil Health. They have a series of medical clinics in the Philadelphia area and Southern Florida. They got through their Reg A already. They're already beginning to buy up our tokens. They're raising $60 million. They got approved for the $60 million. Okay. So now we're beginning to help them raise that $60 million. Once they complete that, they will pay out about 10% distribution, $6 million to their investor world on an annual basis. And then and so for them, Eric, that's what we're doing. We're helping them raise 60 million. And I can go on and on and on. Company in northern Dallas, Texas. They do gas and oil crude cleanup. with all the fracking that U.S. is doing and the oil crisis, there's massive demand for more oil, and they need to raise $75 million to buy more machinery, to hire more talent, more staff, to go out and get more oil. That's another one that we're working on right now. And there are at least a dozen others that I can't name because they don't want their competition to know what they are doing. They actually don't want us to market Trusted Smart Chain whatsoever because they don't want the competition to find out how we are helping them raise capital. So it's confidential.
Yeah.
Rich, go ahead.
So Tom, going back to your resort, your $50 million raise, question for you is how, obviously these folks have got a budget, an OM and a performa and all that. What if they're wrong? What if they guessed wrong on this? And what happens to the Bitcoin point?
So Tulum, if they guessed wrong, worst case scenario, they file bankruptcy, right? In that Tulum project, lose everything. But that's the Tulum coin, a layer 2 coin sitting on the Trusted Smart Chain coin. We're still the currency. It doesn't really affect us. Think of us like a mutual fund of real world assets. And by the way, Rich, you don't have to invest in Tulum. I don't plan on investing on any RWA unless I really find one that might hit home with me. There's actually one that I'm circling the wagon with to maybe invest in as our RWA to their coin. But to answer your question, Rich, it's like the S&P 500, right? Every year, 100 companies fall out of the S&P 500 and they add another 100. That's a constant flow of companies. It's not the same companies for the past year even. You know, you guys know that, right? So same idea, Rich. If they fail, that's because they hopefully they weren't scamming anybody. If they scammed everybody, that means they also scammed the Securities and Exchange Commission and got by them.
Yeah, but my question, Tom, is how does that impact your coin?
Yeah, so if they go bankrupt, right, and then there's no more dividends to pay out, buying our coin.
So in other words, the coin value stays the same. It's just that there's no dividends paid out.
Well, there will be less demand on the Trusted Smart Chain currency, the coin, because they went out of business. But remember, eventually within a year, we'll have at least 10 real world assets on chain demanding the coin to pay out the distribution. And if 1 out of the 10 fail, Rich, in your scenario, then 9 out of the 10 still are buying our coin to pay out the distribution. 3 years from now, we should have about 100 real world assets that come onto our chain. Okay. And then our blockchain will handle unlimited real world assets. It has the ability to handle unlimited already. Another way to think about it, Rich, is Amazon. Jeff Bezos. He created Amazon, right? And he says, hey, I'm creating this online platform, digital platform to sell books online. Do you want to invest in Amazon? That's how he started. And after I sell books, I'm going to sell shoelaces and eyeglasses and computers, blah, blah, blah. Well, if the eyeglass company goes out of business, once upon a time, he probably sold Compaq computers or, digital, whatever, computers that are no longer with us. They went out of business, Rich, but it didn't stop Amazon. Does that make sense?
Tom, is it equivalent to a blended rate? So you might have some assets generating an 80 or 90% IRR and others that are generating a 10 or 15% IRR. Okay, so okay, good. Thank you.
Every real world asset will come on and they will have their own offering. And it's up to those investors whether they want to invest in those offerings or not. I might invest in the luxury boutique hotel, but I'm not going to invest in luxury cars, luxury car rental. That's another RWA on. I might like the luxury car space, but I'd want the miracle marijuana because I don't believe in marijuana. But that's not me, the operator. That's the individual investors investing in the RWAs, Rich. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
Okay. Great question, though. Yeah. Go ahead, Eric.
Other questions?
I have one more.
Go for it, bro.
When is your next full hour presentation, Tom?
Yep, there's one. So I'm doing 3 this week. This coming tomorrow night, Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. All right, Rich, I'm going to take notes. I'll invite you to that. It's by invite. So here's my cell phone. Let me in the chat here, guys. My cell phone is 617-312-838. And oh, by the way, you text me, please text saying I was on Eric's Zoom and I want to learn about it. We have an affiliate program where Eric earns 10% of the commissions from these node sales. And I'm going to honor everyone on this call. If you haven't bought already and you buy, Eric, you get the 10% commission. All right. I get 5%. It's a two-tier. It's not multi-level. It's two-tier sales commissions, just like any sales organization.
Okay.
So you get the 10%, Eric. Okay. So Rich, I'll text you the link to join. So we do one tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and Thursday at tomorrow and Thursday is 5 p.m. Pacific. Wednesday is 4 p.m. Pacific.
Tom, if somebody had a contact, I'm thrilled that Christina was on this call today because she's down in, resort heaven and in the southern parts of Mexico where she's at. Someone like her were to bring a company on board, they also get to participate. Speak about what that could look like for someone who would bring a company on board. One of the companies that came on board that I saw, the guy had luxury cars, exotic cars, and he did a cash raise there for his product. So, again, thinking about yourself, about being a facilitator, an opportunity of architect, we all have opportunities to connect to this, perform if you're in real estate. Speak about that opportunity.
Great question. Okay, so, well, let me ask you guys. I'm going to throw the question back at you. If you have an opportunity and you bring it to venture capitalists and they like the deal and they help them raise capital, what do you get? You guys must have helped people raise capital before. What do you guys get? Dan, what do you get?
A fee.
What fee? How much, Rich?
1 to 3%.
Boom. That's your answer. You have the exclusive relationship. You sign the contract. You introduce them. Before you introduce them, you make sure that you have that exclusive, and Rich builds in his 2% fee. That's it. And that's why on the calls, I say 1%, but I know some of you can get 2, some of you can get 3. So on a $50 million raise, 1% fee, guys, it's cheaper than the VCs are going to charge them. Certainly a lot cheaper than what Wall Street's going to charge them.
VC venture capitalists.
You mean vulture capitalists.
There you go.
And Tom, because it's a Reg A, I don't need to have a Series 7 or anything like that to help do a raise.
That's right. Because it's Reg A.
I have how did you make the legal structure for the hotel in Tulum? Like your hotel in Tulum? I can imagine you have already a trust fund in Mexico working to support the ownership. How do you make it? Because I mean, if you already the trust fund in Tulum and in Mexico, it will be easy that, for example, from the properties that I sell, that they generate around 10 to 15% ROI in Mexico, and they branded hotels. Yeah, so it will be very easy to put.
Yeah,
I mean to say an idea.
Christina, our blockchain is already up and running, and our blockchain is blockchain is licensed in all 7 continents.
Yeah, but the question is, you have already a trust fund in Mexico.
We already have trust fund. I can hear you. Trust fund.
How do you manage the property in Tulum to be supported in the blockchain structure?
How do we manage the Tulum property? We don't manage the Tulum property. They have their management company.
No, but how do you make the ownership Mexico to the blockchain?
Okay, so how do you tie the physical asset to the digital asset?
Exactly. That is my question.
Thank you. How do you give it title ownership? Is that what you're asking me?
Yes, exactly. Because if you have established this, it will be very easy.
Regulation A, Christina and everybody, also allows Regulation A allows you to raise capital in 7 continents, not just the United States. Regulation D is only US, for those who don't know. Okay, 7 continents, including Mexico. Number 2 is our blockchain is filed in the state of Wyoming, and Wyoming is one of several states that are cryptocurrency friendly. And the state of Wyoming will uphold, and our contracts will be upheld in the state of Wyoming, but it allows you to, I guess, do business worldwide in 7 continents. It's the easiest way for me to explain it. Okay. The
And
answer is
we can go further into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, Christina, we're already doing it, right? I just came from Iceland, and I met with, let's call it, one of the top 6 wealthiest family in Iceland. And my sole purpose was wanted me to talk to them about the blockchain and raising capital. And, we're working on that right now. These guys are looking to raise, like, I don't know, a lot of money. They manufacture industrial steel buildings worldwide. And they're looking to raise capital at a cheaper cost than what their banks are charging them right now, which is around 14%.
All right, one more question.
And when raise about 75 million a year, say, Tom, I can use 75 million a year until we have enough industrial buildings worldwide. And there's a massive shortage of industrial buildings worldwide. So every year there'll be 1% of 75 million for sure.
So there are several ways for us as agents, brokers, to transact. And I want you to become more familiar with what's taking place on the blockchain, because in our field with real world assets, you're going to be more involved as time goes on and seeing transactions take place on a blockchain. So it's incumbent upon you to become more educated about this. No matter what you do, how you get involved, do need to become more informed about it. So really, this conversation today was to provide you a stepping stone in your own education, investing in yourself. And I really applaud the conversation today. I find it fascinating. And, sometimes in life, you need to tap the brakes and learn about something else. And sometimes it takes longer to tap the brakes and learn, but it all depends upon what we're going through and when we can take the opportunity. So follow up with me, and please, by way of text or email. I'll get you connected to Tom. I know several of us will probably want to be on the call tomorrow. I want to thank everybody for the time here. Always a pleasure. Everybody, great to see you. See you next week.